Hey guys, how's it going? Today, I'm going to be featuring the Prinz Heinrich, the Tier 6 Tech Tree German battlecruiser. Now, the ship was requested, as well as using these German battlecruisers with one of the non-premium commanders, and without really using any of them in the build. So in this game, I am using Auto Celiacs, and I have Franz von Hipper as one of my inspirations, and I believe the other was Nobutake Kondo for some battleship concealment. There's actually quite a few different types of builds you could have possibly run with this ship, especially when it comes down to inspirations. Instead of Kondo, you could have probably run maybe Andrew Cunningham or Angelo Iachino for the increase in Sigma. Although the base German battlecruiser Sigma is low, so the bonus that you're getting is not going to be as much unless you're going for an accuracy build with Hipper as your main commander and then using Cunningham and Iachino as your inspirations. Although even then, you're more reliant on your dispersion than you are in your Sigma. This game, we're pretty lucky. We did get a match without any destroyers. This means that we can actually play fairly aggressively and push in without being spotted. In front of us is a Belfast and a Nelson, and the Belfast has just smoked both of them up. The rest of the enemy team seems like they're heading to Charlie and nothing is really in the middle of the map. With our good concealment, thanks to using Kondo as an inspiration, we can actually get extremely close to these two ships in the A cap without really being spotted. So all we're going to do is just push in. Really, in any of the aggressive or brawling battleships, it's always about finding the opportunity to push in and brawl. And when it comes down to secondary battleships, you always want to try and find situations where you can make your secondaries work for you and help you in a fight, especially if you are building for them like I am in this game. If I were to have a secondary build and really just stay at the back, the build is not really working to its full capacity. So it's a good idea to try and find the opportunity to push in. On the map, we can see that their whole team has pretty much pushed onto the Bravo Charlie side of the map, and we really aren't going to be spotted. They are starting to push north on that side, and we will most likely get spotted at some point, which we do here, although by now it's a little too late for any of these two ships that's sitting in smoke because we have closed the distance so much. And this is where the fun begins. With the enemies pushing into the middle of the map, there is a fear of a crossfire here, but we are just full sending to these two ships that are in a lot of trouble because we do have 8 380mm guns, torpedoes, and a good secondary armament. I launch one set of torpedoes fairly early in order so that I can start to turn my ship and then also use the other side of my ship's torpedoes. With this Belfast being so low, there is a risk of being rammed, so I immediately start turning hard right in order to get an angle for my torpedoes to launch at this Belfast. The Prinz Heinrich's torpedo angles are fairly decent, and I will have no problem in launching these torpedoes. If it comes down to something close like what happened with this Belfast, it's a good idea to use wide spreads on your torpedoes because it simply opens up the torpedo angles a little further than if you were to keep it on the narrow angles. It's just a little tip if you ever find yourself in a situation like this, although typically you don't really want to have yourself in a risk of getting rammed very often unless you know it's going to be a good trade, and in this situation it definitely was not. Unfortunately, having to dodge the Belfast and torpedo him, I do beach broadside to the Nelson and he chunks me pretty good there. Although, now the entire A-cap is ours, and, well, we have good concealment, so now we can go undetected and then start healing up because we have a lot of heals still remaining. All we really want to do now is start heading towards Bravo in order to capture it. Also starting to use our 4 remaining heals and getting a whole bunch of our HP back. The Biggest difference I've noticed between using Celiax and my preferred commander, which is Megatron, is mainly the fire duration, which with Megatron's revocation protocol, it can get it down to 48 seconds with just that commander skill, and if you use the mod in the second slot, it goes down to 40 seconds. I think fires are a little more noticeable, although using Firefighter and limiting the fire in the center of your ship to 1 does help a lot in managing your damage controls. Something I do miss out a little bit on is the base trait of Megatron, which increases the main battery firing range of battleships by 6%. Now, obviously, we won't be using that 6% to snipe at the back of the map, but it does sometimes allow us to find crossfires and shoot at ships that's not really expecting it. Not having that little extra range did make us push in a little closer, and really we could have potentially started engaging these last enemy ships a little earlier, although it's not that big of a deal because our whole goal is to try and push in as close as we can. Because we didn't really build for any sort of accuracy, everything has been put really into our secondaries, first mod, and then our commander skills are all related to secondaries. So like I said in the beginning, we do want to push in and try and make these secondaries do a little more so that we can reach our build's full potential. Our salvo at that Miyoko, it looked pretty good, but they all landed short. I possibly aimed a little too low while he started turning out or really straightening out, and then, well, they all missed, or they could have been the so-called aiming or shells landing short bug. Either way, my shells missed. I am now getting into secondary range, and well, that second salvo definitely did not miss that Miyoko. Now, we are getting pretty close to an enemy Heinrich, which we do know that has torpedoes, and also has some pretty good secondaries. Our sonar comes off of cooldown at the perfect time because now we can use it and push towards this Prinz Heinrich and dodge any torpedoes that he may launch. The lower HP Prinz Heinrich in the back is sailing flat broadside, and I have a goal to try and kill him off and then torpedo the Prinz Heinrich that's closest to us in order to possibly get a double strike. The Prinz Heinrich closest to us just gets absolutely deleted, and with our sonar up, he did not have a chance to launch torpedoes, otherwise they would have already been spotted. We do have 4 kills, and really all we need to do is kill off this Prinz Heinrich in order to secure a Kraken. He does start angling towards us, which is unfortunate, although we are getting some penetrations in his superstructure. We do over-angle a little too much, and, well, we show a little too much broadside and get penned for a decent amount of HP. Although now we are just simply staying bow in towards the enemy Fuso. Our secondaries start landing on the Prinz Heinrich, and we do get a Kraken with one of the fires that was set by 4 secondary hits. Now, all that's left is this enemy Hugo, and all we really need to do is just stay bow in and charge straight at it because it cannot overmatch our bow with those 356mm guns. I think for the most part in this entire game we have been pretty much just charging straight at the enemy and not really slowing down because we were given an opportunity to do so from the very beginning, and matchmaking has given us a pretty good game that there's no destroyers that would keep us spotted or even be torpedoing us and really slowing us down in our push. If there had been a destroyer spotting for that Belfast, obviously we would definitely not be pushing in order to try and brawl with those 2 ships. This enemy Hugo does decide to turn away because, well, it's a good idea not to push towards a battleship that has torpedoes, and in doing so he goes broadside to our other teammates who absolutely smashes his broadside, which again, that shows what a crossfire can do. 148,000 damage, 2,500 base XP. Not the most, but definitely an entertaining game where we could actually push in and be aggressive in our battleship. But this definitely shows that you can play these ships with a basic normal commander, and you don't necessarily need to have one of the commanders that you would have to spend money for. So in this game, I did use Celiax, and I had a secondary build, and using the typical firefighter master mechanic. And then my inspirations were Franz von Hipper and Nobutake Kondo, although you can obviously switch those out for really whatever you would prefer to use. I just prefer secondaries, and I was just testing out what it would be like to have slightly more concealment in these battle cruisers that already have fairly decent concealment. In the future, I might go with Andrew Cunningham or even Angelo Iachino for a little more Sigma against cruisers. It really depends on the day I'm having, I guess. But that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like and subscribe for more, and leave a comment down below for any other ships you want to see in the future. But until next time, aloha.